This should not come as a shocker, given Donald Trump is going to do Donald Trump things. But we're now learning, and CNN's reporting, that there's not going to be any FBI background checks for at least a number of or Trump's not going to allow FBI background checks for a number of his cabinet appointees. Now, in this article by CNN, the picture is of Tulsi Gabbard, and the insinuation is that people like Tulsi Gabbard, people like Matt Gaetz, people like Pete Hegseth, people who may otherwise, I'm putting this lightly, struggle to pass an FBI background check would not be subject to the rigors of such an background check. Now, Harry Litman is here. Harry Litman is a former Fed. He also currently hosts the Talking Feds YouTube channel and the Talking Feds podcast. Now, Harry, you're uniquely positioned to address these issues when you were the United States Attorney for the Western Division in Pennsylvania's federal court system, which means you were the top federal prosecutor for that district in Pennsylvania. You had to undergo a rigorous background check. Your various governmental roles required that they look into you, and it is an exhaustive process because we want to make sure that those who hold these types of offices are not compromised, do not have skeletons in their closet, cannot be bribed, do not have gambling debts, are not secretly having issues that could lead to them being compromised. So, Harry, maybe first let's start off with your view or your perspective on no background checks, and then walk us through what these background checks are, because you went through the process and that's what the normal thing's supposed to be. So, Harry, talk to us.
Yeah, look, I went through it twice, and I also was, when I was at the department, someone who reviewed background investigations for judicial candidates. And first, as you say, exhaustive. They are, for so-called full field investigations, as this would be for any cabinet nominee, they are exhaustive. And, all the neighbors you've ever had and the like. And to the extent people see them as potentially just bureaucratic, and one of the problems here is Gates in particular, but Trump start with such hostility toward the FBI and kind of contempt for their work. Even some that they're going to do, by the way, they're saying they will just refer out to private companies. These things turn up stuff all the time. Everyone's got stuff. And the question is, most importantly, as you just said, Ben, could it compromise national security? You have adversaries out there who are absolutely combing the libraries and the town halls and the neighbors to try to find something to have on people to make them sacrifice the interests of the United States. And it's things that you want to keep secret, but it's affairs. It may well be drug use. I mean, that's gotten a little more liberal, but Matt Gaetz and his really promiscuous, you could say, drug use, breaking laws cavalierly for an attorney general, that's a worry. So many things come up, and when things do come up, often everyone agrees they're important, and to spare the nominee embarrassment, that nomination just kind of goes away. And that's not because there's some judgment of, we think this person hasn't been a Puritan. Nobody's a Puritan, but people have done things, financial mismanagement that could be the most important thing. You could be subject to blackmail by bad guys who absolutely want to do it. Then second, there are matters of qualification. You did what? And you were a lawyer? We're going to leave that to the Senate to decide whether that's okay. And really, they run the gamut. So to do away with them or to give short sight to them and farm them out really is to guarantee a set of security risks for starters, and then ability risks for the most important members of the federal government, save only the president. So as with other things, this is what looks from the outside as a sort of casual, again, anti-deep state little maneuver by Donald Trump. It is absolutely, however, part of a broader system that has served us well. The United States is the first country in the world, Ben, not because of the bombs on the ground, but because of its intelligence and the ability to compromise people with serious responsibility. That's just a total gift to our adversaries who are, ingenious. So getting rid of this is really asking for trouble to all of us, not just to who's going to be embarrassed, Will Matt Gaetz, but literally security risks and risks of just basic competence to the people of the United States.
No, I did an interview on Friday with Congresswoman Abigail Spanberger, who spent much of her career working in the CIA. And she was telling me about all of the red flags around people like Tulsi Gabbard and others, and the types of classified information that a director of national intelligence receives, and how that can literally be cataclysmic, catastrophic to our national security. And in layman's terms, that means Americans are going to die. Sources are going to die and get killed potentially if it's not handled the right way. Now, Harry, we talk about
just one
Donald
more
Trump.
quick thing. It also means for sure, if Tulsi Gabbard gets in, no one's going to talk to us. Our intelligence gathering material will just dry up given her record that everybody else knows. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's an important point you mentioned there. Now, we talk about Donald Trump appointing this person, that person, and the other. Yes, that's what's happening. But what he's really doing in the normal course, right, is that he's nominating an individual to fill a position. And then the United States Senate, under the Constitution, doesn't have a discretionary role, right? It's an obligatory role for being a co-equal branch. The advice and consent function of the Senate, in layman's terms, is the confirmation process by which the individuals the president wishes to appoint under what Senate is supposed to do based on its constitutional requirements, bring them before the Senate and hold these confirmation hearings. But now we're hearing recess appointments. We're not going through that process. Look, Senator John Thune, who's now the majority leader, while I disagree with a lot of his views, he's an institutionalist, though, and he does have at heart, I think, the idea that the Senate is still a co-equal branch, but he hinted at even potential recess appointments if Democrats don't play ball. I don't really know what that means, but what is this issue on recess appointments, Harry? And
let me talk about that. And look, let me just say what's really going on here is having clobbered, having taken control of all three elected branches and arguably already having captured the U.S. Supreme Court, Trump, somewhat surprisingly, is going within days at the U.S. Senate. Just as you say, this is a critical role for the Senate, for starters, but for us, public hearings and being able to hear about it. All right, the recess appointment idea. The main point is to evade the advice and consent process, which again would be not just a background investigation, but a hearing where Democrats, who are completely out of the picture and power, generally have a chance on behalf of the people to ask questions, raise red flags, and the like. It's legally dodgy, Ben, and a whole issue comes up. What happens if they try it and it turns out later to be overruled? What's the legal status of all the things that person has done while illegally in power? But what they're trying to say, no one's ever argued it before, is we're going to go with the guy we totally control, Mike Johnson in the House, and tell Mike Johnson to just say there's a recess, even though there isn't a recess and there has to be a real recess. The Supreme Court has made clear. Now Thune is in a box. If he says, all right, there's a recess, if he plays ball, Trump makes his recess appointments. If he says there's not a recess, he stands up for Senate institutional process. Then Trump is going to rely on a provision in Article 2 that no one's ever litigated before, suggesting that if there's a disagreement between the House and the Senate about whether there is a recess, the president controls. So basically, in realpolitik terms, what's going on here is using the completely captured House to try to drive a stake through the 98%, but not fully captured Senate, where there could be some remaining concern, and they would now need 4 votes. But there might just be 4 crazies like Gabbard, like Getz, of senators to say, and really right now it's just their public responsibility. They would just say, "Holy crap, we can't confirm this person." In the past, it would have just been a quiet call to the White House that wants, of course, to cooperate with the Senate and say, you got to withdraw this person, and they would. Instead, you could have Trump redoubling, wanting control over every single lever of power in the country. So besides an arcane legal issue that could fail, I think what we should really see this as is a direct assault on the Republican Senate, and indirectly on us, because what will that mean? We won't get the information about Gabbard. We won't hear the questions that, in fact, concern us, because they concern our national security, literally, and the United States' standing in the world. This week has been, you might have thought it has been an answer to the question, how bad can it get? Worse than we thought.
Well, I guess trying to find silver lining, it is that the showdown is right now. Trump's not going to trickle this out over 4 years. From the outset, from literally day one, what he is essentially saying, to summarize, with no FBI background checks on his people, with threatening these recess appointments and having MAGA Mike basically shut down Congress so he could invoke this archaic article that nobody's ever invoked before in the Constitution. What he is saying is, this will be a dictatorship. I'm not trying to be hyperbolic. This is going to be me as the emperor. There's no constitutional guardrails on me. I am forcing myself upon this country now in this way. Come fight me. And so the question is, when I say, you're like, well, that's not silver lining. He is going after Republican senators. He's going after Thune. He's going after the institution of the Senate. So the question is any political capital that he could potentially spend in taking credit for Biden's economy, or just kind of coasting and saying, hey, look, things are great now, huh? Inflation's down, huh? Things are doing better, because that's what they were trending on. He's now forcing the issues, and the questions are, how's the market going to react to that? The market likes stability. How are people in these departments going to react if he starts firing general? Are you going to start losing the smartest and the top lawyers at the DOJ? And before you know it, he's crashed the institutions. We're all in a kind of crisis mode on day one. And there's a reflection moment of like, hey, this is freaking chaos. I kind of liked, I'm being
chaos serves him well, right? And let's just add the military. He wants a separate council now to be able to get rid of any Mark Millies who aren't fully loyal to him. Look, Ben, you've been on this refrain from way back, and it feels a little bit exhausting now. It feels and alarmist. But just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not really after you. I just want to look everyone in the eye and try to get past the screen and say, from the knowledge that we have of these institutions, a lot of people, and you hear many of them on the Meidas Network, this is real and grave. It could have been, it still would have been a woeful situation if he were acting normally, having had this fairly decisive victory, but he is not. And it's really true that the future is now, the crisis is now. And, for so many of us, the main thing to be able to do is just explain and get the word out. It feels to a lot of people, okay, I was against him, but now he won 4 years, etc. But there are different kinds of Trumps we could see in this 4 years. Remember term number one, where from pretty early on, the firing of Comey, people pushed back hard. The lesson he got from that, I'm putting in all loyalists. I won't let that happen, won't get fooled again. And, just here to tell you, though it sounds hyperbolic, we are really truly up against it, and it just behooves us to, for starters, understand what the hell's going on and how extreme it is.
Yeah, because we know when Trump is confronted, though, with a lack of popularity and pushback and things that don't go his way, he kind of spirals more. So for those saying, well, like, okay, so you're telling me all of this, what do you want me to do? I want you to be an educated and informed consumer of information. That's like,
exactly.
That's
that
our
makes
power.
such a
That's
huge
our
difference
superpower here at this show. That's our superpower. That there's going to be people in other positions that are going to need to then, use levers of government, but you need to know these facts. So when you're speaking with people, you have an accurate set of data. Harry Litman's The Talking Feds YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe to it. It's critical now more than ever. I want everybody here to subscribe to that YouTube channel. Please, please, please. It's called Talking Feds. Thanks, Harry.
Thanks, Ben. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video and other Talking Feds content, please take a second to like and subscribe. Talk to you later.